Let's be real for a second. The first time I heard the words "the summer I turned pretty," I almost rolled my eyes. It was blowing up a group chat, with two of my best friends locked in a digital screaming match, Team Conrad versus Team Jeremiah. "You have to watch it," they insisted. In my 20-something mind, I had graduated from teen dramas. I was skeptical, ready to dismiss it as another cliché-ridden high school romance. But then, I watched the first episode. And something inside me just clicked. I was a goner. It's almost embarrassing to admit how completely and utterly obsessed I became, but this show had a magical way of winding back the clock. I never thought a story about a teenage love triangle could make me feel 16 again, but there I was, counting down the minutes until the next episode dropped each week, my heart caught right alongside Belly Conklin's. Based on Jenny Han's beloved trilogy, the story is deceptively simple. It's about a girl, Belly, and two brothers, Conrad and Jeremiah, and the summers that change their lives forever. But underneath the sun-drenched surface of Cousins Beach, the show explores the tumultuous currents of first love, gut-wrenching loss, and the messy, beautiful journey of figuring out who you are. By the time we reach season 3, these themes have deepened, offering a profoundly mature look at the characters we've grown to love. Belly, brought to life with such raw honesty by Lola Tung, has always been the story's beating heart. In that first season, she was all wide-eyed wonder and clumsy insecurity, a girl just learning what it felt like to be seen, to be wanted. Fast forward to season 3, and she is a veteran of heartbreak. She has navigated a minefield of confusion, grief, and the impossible choice between two very different, very real loves. Belly was never perfect. In fact, her messiness was the whole point. That's the genius of Jenny Han's creation. She gave us a heroine who reminded us that being young is supposed to be messy, that first love is never tidy or logical. In season 3, we watch her grapple with the consequences of her choices, especially her engagement to Jeremiah. Her internal tug-of-war is so palpable you can feel it in your own chest, caught between the ghost of her feelings for Conrad and the tangible reality of her commitment to Jeremiah. We see her blossom from a girl swept up in romance to a young woman demanding clarity from her own heart. There are the Fisher brothers, the two poles of gravity that pull on Belly, and on all of us. From his first moment on screen, Conrad Fisher was the epitome of the boy you write about in your diary. Not in a polished, perfect way, but in a way that feels achingly real. He's the boy who says little but means everything, whose silences are louder than words, who notices the corsage you didn't get or the single tear you try to hide. Christopher Briney infused Conrad with such a fragile vulnerability that a simple glance felt like a love letter. His quiet grief for his mother, Susanna, his silent vow to look after his brother, his constant battle between his heart's desire and what he believed was right, it made him utterly magnetic. For me, Conrad's story was always the soul of the series. His love wasn't just for Belly, it was for his family, a fierce loyalty that he struggled to express, and the slow, painful journey of allowing himself to be happy again. On the other side was Jeremiah, the brother who burned as bright as the summer sun. He was warmth, spontaneity, and playful charm, the boy who was often so much easier to love. Gavin Cosalegno gave him a charisma that made you understand completely why Belly would be drawn to his light, even as her soul was tethered to Conrad's quiet darkness. Jeremiah's devotion was fierce. He refused to let Belly feel unwanted and was brave enough to step forward when Conrad retreated. But season 3 puts him through the ultimate test. What happens when you love someone who can't give you all of their heart? Watching him plan a wedding, giving everything he has while sensing the unbreakable undertow between Conrad and Belly, was genuinely heartbreaking. Jeremiah represented a love that feels safe and steady, a beautiful thing in its own right, even if it's not the one that's written in the stars. This love triangle wasn't just about choosing a boy, it was the engine that drove Belly's entire journey of self-discovery. It was about her deciding what kind of love she needed and what kind of woman she was becoming. When the finale finally gave us the resolution in Paris, it didn't feel like a surprise. It felt like destiny. The tension was never really if Belly and Conrad would find their way back to each other, but how they would navigate the wreckage to get there. Belly's choice was inevitable, but it was also earned. Watching her choose Conrad, the boy who saw her, who understood the unspoken parts of her soul, who was always there even when he didn't know how to be, felt like coming home. Theirs was a love that felt like poetry, the kind worth waiting for. It wasn't easy. It was complicated and painful, but it was real. It was the kind of love that makes you believe in fate, in the idea that some people are just meant to be. To say this show is only about a love triangle would be to miss its soul. The world of Cousins is so rich because it paints 100 different portraits of love. Take Stephen and Taylor. Their sharp, witty banter and undeniable chemistry were a joy to watch. Taylor could have been a simple sidekick, but she grew into one of the most relatable characters, finding a partner in Stephen who challenged her, grounded her, and adored her completely. Their playful, stable relationship was a wonderful anchor in the midst of the central romantic storm, a reminder that sometimes, love doesn't have to hurt to be real. And we cannot forget the adults. Laurel, Belly's mom, carried her own epic story of love, grief, and finding her footing again. Her deep, unshakable friendship with Susanna was, in many ways, the most profound love story of all, anchoring the entire narrative in loyalty and tenderness. And then there was Susanna herself, the heart and the ghost of the series. Even after her passing, her memory shaped every decision, every fight, every moment of forgiveness. She was the invisible thread tying them all together, her wish for her children's happiness hanging over Cousins like a beautiful, bittersweet blessing. Comes together in a world that feels as real as our own memories. The summer house, the salty air of the beach, the golden mornings, it's a sensory experience. And layered over it all is the soundtrack, which is practically a character in its own right. The second a Taylor Swift song begins, your heart instantly syncs up with the on-screen emotion. Looking back, the genius of The Summer I Turned Pretty wasn't about a perfect plot. It was about how it made us feel. It reawakened the memory of that all-consuming first crush, of a love that felt big enough to break you, of summers that felt infinite. It gave us permission, just for a moment, to feel those big, messy, beautiful feelings all over again.